guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I am Jess Williams from Create, Live, Grow, and if you're watching this, then I am assuming that a big congratulations is in order, because this video is all about pregnancy and specifically the first trimester of pregnancy. So if you are pregnant, I'm sending you a big virtual hug. I'm just so excited for you. I am currently pregnant myself, and at the time of filming this, I have just hit 25 weeks, so I'm coming up to the very end of my second trimester. I'll show you my bump. Yes, really growing a lot now. I remember at the start thinking, am I like really going to get a bump? I just can't imagine it happening. But yes, you will get a bump, and it happens so gradually that it just feels so normal. So today, as I said, we're talking about the first trimester, and the reason I wanted to do a video about this was because I feel like, you know, it's a time when it's so exciting, we find out that we're pregnant, but then often we're not telling anyone until around the 12-week mark or whatever it is that you decide to do. So it can be a time where you can feel a little bit alone. Well, I knew I was going through all of these feelings and all of these changes, but I didn't necessarily have heaps of people to talk to about it because it's this big secret that you're keeping. So I wanted to make this video so that you could watch it if you're going through your first trimester and just kind of get a real account, or just somebody that you can relate to, a friend. And keeping in mind, obviously, that everybody's experience is very different, and mine might have, you know, not be like yours at all. But if I can help in any way with the things that I went through, I think that's really worthwhile sharing. So what I've put together is my 5 top tips when it comes to the first trimester of pregnancy. Okay, so tip number 1 from me is to allow yourself to feel all of the feelings. Depending on whether you planned to fall pregnant, or it was a surprise, or you know, you went through a really long process to fall pregnant, everyone's going to have mixed emotions, obviously, when you find out that you are pregnant. But for many of us, it is a great, it's great news, and we have a bit of a high. I mean, there's so much that's happening to us in the first trimester and throughout our pregnancy when it comes to hormones and all sorts of things, when we're feeling tired. And it's impossible to keep that high and that happiness the entire time. I mean, it's life. It's not going to happen. So although it is fantastic to feel grateful and feel happy about the fact that we're pregnant and joyous and, you know, appreciate the whole process, we're obviously not going to be staying up at that level for the entire time. There are going to be times when we're feeling down, and it's okay to feel that way. But I know that I had a bit of trouble myself expressing those feelings and admitting I was feeling that way, because I felt a bit guilty, because I knew people around me who were struggling to fall pregnant, or who had a really, really hard time, you know, with miscarriages and that type of thing. And so it can be very natural to feel guilty for feeling down or upset or sad, but it's natural. And I know for me, I remember I had 2 weeks at the beginning of my pregnancy. I can't remember exactly which part of the first trimester it was, but I felt really down, and it was probably the first time that I almost felt like I was a bit depressed. I felt sad. I felt like I just kind of wanted to cry. I didn't have any motivation. And I remember like my housemate Sammy coming home, and she'd be like, "How was your day today?" And I'd just kind of be like, "Oh yeah, you know, it was all right." But I'd just want to be on the couch, not doing anything. And I felt like a bit of a fraud as well, because I was, you know, running programs, helping people to feel their best, yet I was feeling like crap myself, and I couldn't snap myself out of it. So there may be times where, you know, your hormones are running wild, or it's just a bit of an overwhelm, all this new change to your life, and you might have a few ups and downs. And to give yourself permission to go through that and not feel guilty about the fact that you may be feeling a certain way, and to also express and to be able to talk to the people closest to you about that. I know for a little bit, I almost didn't want to tell my partner I was feeling that way, because I'm a little bit worried that he might think, oh, you know, you're pregnant now and you're not happy. You know, isn't this what you wanted? And of course it is. Of course it's what I want, but we're going through so much. Just remember how much your body is going through. It's creating a human. There are so many hormones rushing through our bodies. There's a lot of changes to our lifestyle happening. There's a lot of things that we're thinking about, you know, what can I be eating? What can't I be eating? What can I be drinking? What supplements do I need to be taking? What appointments do I need to be making? All of these things, and we're not going to be feeling super, super happy every second of every day, because it's not possible. So I just wanted to say, you know, give yourself permission to feel all of the feelings and to be honest about that, and to confide in the people that, you know, do know you're pregnant, and to also feel comfortable in talking to your medical support team about that as well. You know, your doctor, if you have, it'll be quite early in your pregnancy, so it may just be your GP, but you might have a midwife, or just a naturopath as well is a great one, because they can help you with supplementation and that sort of thing. So just don't keep it into yourself, because that's what can make things worse. Give yourself permission to not feel guilty about having those feelings, because it's possible that they may come up and it's completely natural. Tip number 2 is to start doing some research around how you would like to give birth, and start looking into places in your local area where you can give birth. I was deciding whether I wanted to go private or public at the start of my pregnancy, so that was something that I really wanted to, you know, figure out early. So I went and did some tours at each of the different hospitals here on the Gold Coast, and I felt a little bit silly because everyone else in the tour, I know at the public, you know, you kind of do it in a group, and everyone else had big bellies and I have just had a flat stomach, but that's okay. I'm really glad that I went and did that early, because it really helped me to figure out what was going to be best for me and what was aligned with how I want to birth. As well as that, if there are, I know on the Gold Coast, there is a birthing clinic here at the Gold Coast Hospital. It's run by midwives, and you get a midwife throughout your entire pregnancy that is assigned especially to you. There's also special birthing suites and that sort of thing, and it's all free. So you have to put down your name really, really early to be able to get accepted to be in that program. So things like that, like, we don't have any idea unless we do some research and talk to people about it and find out, you know, what our options are. So I know I've had a few friends that have found out about that option at, say, in their 20 weeks, 25 weeks, and by that point it's too late. So just starting to have a bit of a think around the type of birth that you would like to have, what the options are in your areas, doing some tours, talking to some people, and then you've got a lot of time to be able to mull over that and make that decision. I know that, you know, when you find out you're pregnant, I felt like I was going in a bit blind, and I was like, oh my God, I'm meant to know all of these things, and I'm meant to, you know, understand what an obstetrician even is, or what the difference is with my health cover, and all of this stuff that I think it's kind of assumed that you should know, but obviously you're not going to have any idea if you've never been pregnant before. So if you can just start slowly looking into that, from the start of your pregnancy, and just putting some feelers out and talking to some, you know, feel free to call up the reception team at each of those places and just have a chat, find out what sort of cover you might need or what it offers, whether they are more supportive of a natural birth and all that sort of thing. So that would be my tip number 2, would be to start researching early about the experience that you would like to have and who can support you through that process. Tip number 3 is to send love to your body throughout the process of pregnancy. This is a time where we really don't have too much control over what our body is doing, and I feel like as a woman it could be quite a real shift in mindset when we can be doing all of the things right, you know, the healthy eating and trying to get some exercise in and all that sort of stuff, and yet our weight is going up on the scales, and that's a good thing, you know, like it's a real shift in our thinking, but loving your body through that. And I know that for me, in my first trimester especially, you know, I would go on Instagram, and these beautiful women that I would follow physically beautiful, you know, models that were posting pictures of their baby bumps on social media, and which is beautiful, you know, they're sharing their experience, but they look amazing. And I was just feeling bloated AF, like so bloated and disgusting in some of my first trimester, and it wasn't even a proper bump yet, but I still felt thick and wide. And you know, not that anybody else probably would have noticed, but that's just how I was feeling at some points. So then to see them at like 20 or 30 weeks and they're looking amazing, I'm like, oh, I don't even want to look at that, you know. It was a lot of comparison. So I really had to kind of just stop myself from looking at things like that, you know, whether it's to unfollow or give yourself some love in that moment and remind yourself that your body is doing an amazing thing. It is creating life. It is nurturing your, you know, your little one that's going to be coming along very, very soon. So whether it's coming up with some affirmations that you can tell yourself, whether it's literally thanking your body for what it is doing for you, whether it's, you know, having things like baths and, you know, taking time out for yourself and really just appreciating being a woman and seeing your body as, you know, this beautiful womanly vessel for creating this life, rather than judging yourself for how you may be looking or feeling in the mirror and comparing yourself against other people or putting too much pressure on yourself for having to look a certain way. Instead, just really nurturing yourself and loving yourself and appreciating your body and trusting that it knows what it's doing and that it's creating a beautiful baby. So giving yourself, you know, some love. Okay, so tip number 4 is also to give yourself some slack. So first trimester, it's very common to feel quite exhausted. I actually gave myself the nickname of slug at one point because I felt like a slug. I didn't want to really do much at all. I would have a nap in the afternoon if I needed it and then still fall asleep on the couch at 7 o'clock at night. Our body is just doing so much. It's building organs, it's building a human, and it's exhausting. I feel for women, all of you who work full-time. I'm lucky enough to be able to work from home, which does come up with its own challenges because I lost a lot of motivation through that time, which I felt quite guilty about. I felt guilty for relaxing and not working on my business. But you've just got to allow yourself some space to be able to rest and appreciate that your body wants to slow down. It's got its own agenda now. It's not completely under your control. It's got its own way of thinking, and it's like, you are not my priority right now. This is what's happening in here, and you've got to let it do what it needs to do. And I remember one day I went and did a training session at the gym, and my friends didn't know I was pregnant yet, so I felt a bit of pressure to kind of keep up, even though I didn't push myself too hard. And you know, I'd seen all these other women on Instagram who did continue to train hard throughout their pregnancies, and I thought, you know, they can do it, I can do it. And I did this one session and got home, pulled into my driveway. It would have been like 8:30 in the morning, and I was like, oh my God, I am so tired. And I came back in the house, I thought I'll just lay down for a second. I didn't wake up till midday. Like it just exhausted me doing that extra activity. So I was like, I can't do that again. I've just got to listen to my body and do what I can when I can. So yeah, cut yourself some slack. Appreciate that your body wants to slow down and rest when you can. Tip number 5 is all about nutrition. The way that I always think when I'm choosing what to eat, and this isn't just in relation to pregnancy, but in everyday life, is that I think about how I'm going to feel after I eat that meal or that snack. So, you know, donuts, cake, all that sort of stuff might be delicious, but how am I going to feel when I finish that meal? And usually I'm going to feel, you know, lethargic, bloated. I know that I'm going to have a sugar crash, so I'm going to feel, you know, just tired. It might give me a headache, guilty, you know. So even though it might be delicious at the time, is it really worth those feelings afterwards? And I like to try and manage my energy throughout the day. So rather than, you know, having a high and a low, a high and a crash, high and a crash, I like to try and make the most of my day and enjoy my day. So that's why I like to eat healthy food, because it makes me feel good and it gives me that steady energy throughout the day so that I can enjoy what I'm doing. And I think since I've been pregnant, it's even more of a reason to want to eat well. I know that there can be that common saying of when you're pregnant, you're eating for two, and that can come along with, you know, this excuse that we can then tell ourselves as to why we can eat all these things and why we can eat a lot more food, when it's not entirely true. I know that my midwife said to me in my first appointment with her, just a reminder, you're not eating for two until you're breastfeeding, then you're eating for two. But at the moment, you know, you're eating for one still, and it's important to make healthy food choices. So everything that we eat is filtered through to our bub, so it is, you know, even more important to be more aware of what we're putting into our body. And especially when, for me, I haven't been able to work out as much as previously. I used to work out a lot, whereas now I can't because, you know, of things that my body has gone through. So I need to be aware of my nutrition because, as you may be aware, you know, diet is 80% of our results. So if I want to feel good throughout my pregnancy, I want to have high energy, I want to look good as well, which is important because that is related to confidence too and self-esteem, then I need to be making healthy food choices. In saying that, in the first trimester, I did find it a bit difficult because I couldn't plan my meals the same as I normally would. I was a lot more reactive. It was kind of just like, this is what my body feels like right now, so I'm gonna have this. I didn't want any meat. I just wanted more like fruits and carbs, but that's okay. Like, I just did what my body felt, and I tried to make healthy choices throughout that process. So I had lots of fruit and veggies. Try not to resort to food as a comfort either, to just look at it as fuel rather than comfort. And if you do have a craving, to find something that may be a bit healthier that could relieve you of that craving, and maybe just have a little bit of that thing that you really wanted mixed in. Say one night I really wanted chocolate, which is unlike me. I don't normally crave something like that. So I went to the shop and I thought, okay, well, I could just go and get 1 or 2 bars of chocolate and demolish them and then feel like shit afterwards. Or what else could I have that would, you know, help with this craving? And for me, it was berries. So what I did was I bought like every type of berry they had: cherries, raspberries, blueberries, and I also got some dark chocolate. And I came home and I filled this big bowl up with all of these berries, and I just broke up a few bits of dark chocolate in there as well. And oh, it was so good. I actually enjoyed it more than the chocolate I was craving, and I felt good afterwards as well. I didn't feel guilty. Okay, well, I hope that those tips helped you, and if you guys have any questions, feel free to post below or go find me on my Instagram at JessLee_Williams. I am just so happy for you and your pregnancy, and I mean, there's so many amazing parts of being pregnant as well. I just wanted to be very real about some of the harder moments because that's not always shared, and I feel like, I mean, we all talk about social media being a highlight reel, so I just wanted to talk in a way that you could talk to a friend about how you're feeling, and that you're not alone in some of those feelings, and to reach out and talk to the people that you trust, talk to your doctor, talk to your naturopath, and they will be there to support you 100%. Thank you guys, and remember, create, live, grow. Create a life you love, live your truth, and grow into the person you were born to become. Bye.